Okay, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee and Art in the Morning. I'm Dee Dee. Keep our little focus cards right here. I did do some research on the camera lighting. I posted it on Twitter. Apparently, this camera does not have a light lock, but we're gonna soldier on. Okay, so anyway, oh, and also let me say that the Baby Book Round Robin thing that's going around the world is now last person in Canada and will be coming to the States shortly. So hopefully in about 6 months we'll get to the other 15 people in the U.S. and then it will get back to Debbie B. All right, so let me just show, I have a couple things, more things. I don't know how really new they are, but more things to show you guys with color books. Then I also, let me go ahead now. I'm not going to do Inktober right now. If I do a video on it, it'll be a separate video for my Inktober, but I will show you what I've got done so far, and it's probably going to flash us out, but we'll get it. All right, so remember the first cover we did, I forgot to put the E in Inkwell. Inkwell, that's my, my handle, and I didn't even spell it right. So we did that over, and then I added some little doodads and some splats, so there's my cover page. Then for day one, did the little crab, and these are all posted on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I did make a Facebook folder for my Inktober drawings, and it's public, so even if y'all don't follow me on Facebook, I think pretty much all my art folders are public. My art, my Inktober, I have one for the Gold Rush crew. I drew all the Gold Rush crew last season. So there's a folder, and anybody don't have to subscribe or follow me to go see it. Day 2 was a starfish. Day 3 was sea turtles. And then yesterday I did some coral. So that was yesterday. And so again, I will do a day 5 sometime today and post it all around and put it in my Inktober Facebook album, but I'm not going to do that right now. I mean, I'm not going to work on the ink drawing right now, but I just wanted to show you guys. Thanks. You liking the nautical theme? Thanks, Julie. So that is as far as I got so far for the Inktober, and what it is, it's Mr. Jake Parker. Mr. Jake Parker, and anytime I do a Inktober video, I put the link for that, and he's the one that started Inktober, I think 5-6 years ago. I forget exactly how many. Okay, so I did that, and then Friday night over the weekend, Friday night, our friend Cinderblock Ben, and let me put a note to put that in, yeah, I got a note to put that in there too, in my links. We did a hangout on Google, and he was there. He did a 4-hour show. And he was just doing different things and working in his studio. So he did about 2 hours, and then he was waiting for somebody else to come in, and they didn't show up, or they had to leave or something. So I told him, well, I'll come on until your friend comes back. Well, that 2 hours later, so I spent about 2 hours with Ben. And he's awesome, guys. A young, up and coming artist, and he's in shows, and he's in the Pittsburgh area. He does amazing interviews with other local artists, and it's really awesome. So y'all go check out and follow Ben at Cinderblock Studios on YouTube. And again, I'll put a link in the description. So Friday night, I worked on this during his show, and she is one of the sketchy group. One of the people that posts their own photographs for you to draw from, and I've talked about that a bunch of times too. It's a group. It's called Sketchy App, but really it's just an app on your iPhone. But what it is people post their own photographs for you to draw them. So this is one of the girls that posted her picture for people to get inspiration and to draw from. So that's who I drew on Friday night. And so I think I have a couple. I don't have too many in this book that I've drawn. This is one. This is when Omar Sharif passed away. That's a sketchy girl. There's a sketchy guy. And these are just people that post their photographs for you to draw them. I really liked her. So then I got that was from the show. And then our Mistel, of course. Mistel. And then there's another sketchy girl. So this was the one I drew Friday night. But speaking of faces, let me give y'all another something that you can do. I'm getting ready to show some color book stuff. Christy Gulf Sprite. I'm not going to, just like I say, Julie, I know her last name's not Topaz. It's going to be Christy. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Gulf Sprite. She does awesome whimsy girl faces. Awesome. And they're kind of not as whimsy. They're kind of like more, they have a realistic look to them. Christy has her very own unique style. I recognize her faces anytime I see them. And she has a new color book out. So I'll let her put the link again if she wouldn't mind, if she's still here. And so she has an e-color book out. It's got like 12 pages. Some have more than one face on it. And awesome way to color and practice any kind of your coloring techniques, whether it be paint or color pencil or whatever medium you use. But anyway, Christy's got an awesome, hey Vicki, Christy has got an awesome color book out now, and I'll let her put the link, and I will also put it in the, I'll put it in the description box here when, let me see if she's posted. I'm going to try to grab if you don't mind posting the link again, Christy, so I can grab a direct link to the color book. Plus, y'all know her on YouTube, and she does have a little promo for that color book. So y'all make sure and check it out, because it looks really, really fun. Really fun to color her faces. Because she's been on YouTube forever with classes, so y'all just check that out. I hope everybody's doing well. If I miss saying good morning to you, okay, there it is. Let me grab it real quick and save it, Christy. Let me save it there. So I'll put a link in the description box later. Okay, so speaking of color books, now oh my gosh, you guys, Books A Million now has, they used to have it like when you walk, at the magazine section way at the back, they had a whole section called adult coloring books. And when we say that, it just means that they're color books that are hard to color. They're like not for little kids. They're very detailed oriented. Anyway, I always like to clarify that when I preface it with adult color book. So anyway, they have moved all their color books up to the very front in a whole stand. Now, I can show it to you on my phone. It's going to flash the camera out for a minute. I'll try to, but I want to show you this picture. Oh my gosh. It is, they've got tons and tons of new color books. Plus, you can get them at Books A Million, Amazon. I mean, you can get them all over the place for sure. But look at, let me try to cover up the sides so it doesn't flash out. Look, that's the new Books A Million rollout at the front of the store of color books. That's all color books. So anyway, I was good. I refrained. I did not buy one color book, but I've already got like 10 or 15. So, plus that doesn't even include the clip art books that we can use. But I wanted to show y'all another new idea to do with your color books. Now, this is the one I've been working in out of the Fairyland. But you've seen where I've done other ones in my art journal here. And I know I show this every time, but that's just so people can get an idea. These giraffes are color book pages or cutouts from the color book. Let's see what other one here. Let me just try to flip. I need to put tabs on it. Here's one from the fairy book. It has 3 different fairies on here that colored, cut out, and then I incorporated into my mixed media collage journal pages. Again, here's this girl. She's, let's see what else. I got a couple of steampunk ones in here. But I have another idea for y'all for the color book. There's these 2 girls. This is out of the Art Nouveau. This one is out of the Floral Fashions. And see, they're not done yet. They're not done. I've just, there's an angel. This one is out of the Stained Glass book. Quickly. Here's a steampunk one. Now this one's completed, so this is the one I show all the time because it's fully completed. It's getting out of hand. Now, Vicki, you didn't say it was getting out of hand when you heard that there was a zombie one. Did you? Okay, just saying. Oh, and then they're also making, and I've talked about this on the last Color Book show, they're making a Game of Thrones, a Harry Potter, an Outlander. I can't remember them all the different movie, TV shows. They're doing color books for all those too. Let's see what else. Yeah. There's this steampunk girl. So again, don't feel like you can't take things out of your color books and use them in other places. Don't let the color books be the boss of you. Oh, and then also in your glue books or other kind of books, use bits of them in there too. There's this one and then the back one here. These are from the Paula. I call it my Paula Paris book because she's the enabler. But anyway, so you could cut things out. I got a couple of the kimono girls. I just liked them, so I colored them and cut them out and put them in this book, my glue book. So there's lots of different things that you can do with them, including a new idea I'm getting ready to show you. Oh my gosh, girls. All right, so let me grab this over here. I worked diligently over the weekend. I was busy this weekend, but I did squeeze in time here and there, like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there to do, let me get my camera level. All right, so I wanted to tell you two things on these. One, I always tell you that if you want to keep the brightness and the contrast in your color book pages when you color them, to go back over the black areas with a black pencil or marker, okay, to keep that contrast really a high contrast. Well, in this case, I wanted it to be dulled down, and I'll show you why in a second. But I did this little fairy, but what I did, I used a lot of gray, okay? I used a lot of gray, and I whited down all the black outlining, and you'll see why in a second. Same thing for this one. She's all the harsh black lines have been muted with either a gray or like the green or the orange, whatever. I've muted down the dark black lines on purpose in this case because I wanted to use them on scrapbook paper. So here's a beautiful piece of scrapbook paper that was from, let me get the book here. Do I have it? Yes, this is from an old K & Company. Do I have the cover here? Let me see. Here it is. This is from the old K & Company. I say old. I mean, anything more than a couple of months we'd consider old. This is the Engraved Garden collection. So what I did, I colored her to specifically match this color. So I picked out the colors here. Now I gotta say, I'm gonna give credit to Vicki, because one of the girls that I did last week, the other, well, I didn't even show it. It's in my book, but I didn't get to the flip of it. You mentioned that would be so pretty framed. Now, if y'all know me, I do scrapbook, and I do 12 by 12 with a couple pictures of the grandkids or whatever, and I frame them. Well, when Vicki said you should frame that, I said, why not? Why don't I frame them just like I do my scrapbook 12 by 12? Because that's what I do. I'll get those cheap 12 by 12 frames. You can get them for $5 at Michael's, and frame some of your pretty color book. So I am going to give, oh, you like this paper, Christy? You can frame some of your pretty work. Now, what I did here is, in this case, I found the fairy I wanted to put on this page, and I colored her to coordinate with it. I inked all the edges in a brown-orange, kind of orangey brown. I put some there, some there. And what I did is I cut the flower so that she will fit behind it. Okay. So there is that one. And I know it's a little flashed out, guys. Let me try to grab some of the color. Okay. So you can do this kind of thing with your beautiful scrapbook paper. So I did her. And again, I muted it down so that the black outlines were not so harsh on this particular paper. Now, if you use some of the Print Shop or the Amy Tan or some of those papers that are really bright, colorful, and crisp and contrasted, the black would be awesome with that. So you'd want to keep, that black contrast and really accent it. But in this case, I wanted to mute it down. So, all right, now Eileen, is Eileen here? Eileen might want to look away. There is a flamingo alert. I don't know if Eileen is here, but flamingo alert. Okay, so I loved this piece of paper. So what I did is, again, I cut this flower a little so she tucks up under there and kind of sits a little bit on that little sofa area there. So there is this one. And again, that won't matter when it's cut, when you put it in a frame or even on another piece of cardstock, to kind of, put it back together, so to speak. I inked all the edges again. And again, she just kind of fits under here. And the idea, how I did it is I found the picture. I kind of cut around her, I didn't fussy cut, I just cut around her so that I was able to color off the edge real easily by not fussy cutting. Because once you fussy cut, it's hard to get off the edges and not tear your little bits, right? So don't fussy cut it out till you finish coloring it. But I wanted to be able to place her. I wanted to be able to, find the spot I wanted her to be in. Eileen would unfriend me, Janet. So what I did is I muted her out. So any of the harsh black lines I colored over with either a white, a gray, a blue, or whatever color I was working on so that she blends more seamlessly into the background. But then it's something I've colored and I put her on this pretty page. I inked all the edges. Let me kind of lift her up there. I inked all the edges and tried to kind of keep the same kind of color family tones in there. So thanks, Vicki, for the idea of using your color book pages, even though she didn't know she gave me the idea of using your color book pages on your pretty scrapbook papers. Now these particular ones in the engraved garden stack are pretty, they have a lot of, here I pulled some out. They have a lot of story already to them. In other words, like, look at this, here's this one. See, they've got a lot going on. So some of these I pulled out to show you, like you might be able to put something here, or one of the kimono, see how I have the fan there? One of the girls in the kimono would be perfect for here. Maybe we'll do that today. Put that here. There's this one. There's just all different ones, okay? But they're very, I don't want to say busy, but that is kind of the word. They're already themed up for you, so you kind of have to make your, like the girl in the kimono, fit right there. So you've got to kind of be more selective when you use something this busy. But I pulled out some other ones that would be awesome just for a major figure. In other words, you find the paper that you love that could be just a background for whatever you want to color. All right, here's a good example. This is the romance novel Prima. This is a good example of how keeping the image with the black, and again, it's kind of flashed out, but keeping the image with a lot of outline would work well because there's a lot of contrast in here. So that would be great to use for keeping the image sharp and crisp. But there's all kinds of things, like this one kind of reminded me of a wallpaper. Now again, this isn't going to match, but I'll just kind of show you a large image on here. So, like for instance, here's one. You see what I'm talking about? So if you just like just the color, your color book page, but didn't really want to insert it into another world here, and just wanted a background, you see, you could do something like that. You could do something like this one over here. Let me flip this over. Or just a wallpaper, you know, something like this. So it doesn't necessarily have to be colored to fit in a certain space like I did these two. You could just do something like this. These would be awesome in a little girl's room. But you could not only do something like this. There's all kinds of one like the one I have with the comic book one from Mara O'Mara. That would be an awesome one for a boy's room. So like, let me grab that one. Not that superheroes and comic books can't be in a girl's room too. This would be more for my granddaughter Boo. She would love Superwoman, you know, because she tells you I'm an athlete. Anyways, but you know these kind of things are awesome. Could be awesome on a more graphic, one of your graphic scrapbook papers, a black and white stripe or polka dot, or you know some more graphic element scrapbook papers if you wanted to mat them and frame them, or you could just like you know do something like this. But anyway, that's another idea there. Okay, so let me check chat, see if anybody's got any questions. Um, yeah, Angie Bell said, forget the little girls, I would look awesome in my craft room. I know, right? It would, it would. Now, if I had any walls, all my walls are floor-to-ceiling shelves. I have no walls. But anyway, but I totally get that, Angie. All right, so there you go. So there's that idea to use. And again, when Vicky BR said to, well, that would look awesome framed, I thought, you know, I frame my 12 by 12 scrapbook pages. Why not put a color book on it? So there you go. So there's another idea. Of course, you could also just, if you want to just cut them out and keep them, rather than, because I doubt, even Paul and I who want to finish our Paris books, even if we finish that, we're never going to finish all these books, guys. We will never finish all these books. So why not pick out your favorite stuff, color it, and make it special? You don't even have to necessarily frame it. You could make a whole scrapbook. You could put these in your 12 by 12 sleeves and just do a collection of your favorite color book elements that you've colored. Or like we do with the art journal pages, put them in art journal and paint on them and mixed media them up. But if you're just not one to do a lot of mixed media and art journaling, but you love to color, then cut those elements out and make your own color book, scrapbook of the things you've colored. Why not? You know, why not? Okay, so is Ben here? Hey, Ben. I don't see him, but let me check up here. It's Cinders. Maybe I'm missing him. Lynn said hi, Ben, but I'm not seeing Ben. But anyway, again, make sure and check out Ben too. I'm going to put links to both of them. Yeah, make a scrapbook out of your color book pages. So if you just want to color, you just like to color, but you know you're never going to finish one of these books. Even if you copy a page that you like out of the book, rather than, I just like to go, look, I just cut it out, you know. But if you don't want to cut your book up, like I won't cut my Paris book up, but there was something in there, like those two girls that I showed you in my glue book, I copied it and colored them and glued those in my book. But you know you're never going to finish a whole color book, but you love certain pages or certain elements of them, and you want to color them and look at them. And not have to flip through, Colleen, 30, color books to find the pages that you've colored and loved. Well, cut those up, make those separate in your own like little scrapbook of color book pages. That's what I'm going to do with these two. Now, I'll probably do the scrapbook thing rather than frame them because I don't have a place to hang them in here. But just, I wanted to give y'all the ideas for any of these kind of, you know, uses for your pages. All right, so I'm thinking I picked out all kinds of different pages here to use, and I think what I'll do is I will go with this one and do one of the girls out of the kimono book. Okay, let me just kind of set the fairy book here aside. So any questions? We got any questions or anything going on? Yes, we've missed you, Lily. Well, thanks for the inspiration, Vicki, for framing your stuff. But yeah, if you don't have a place to frame your 12 by 12, then put it in a scrapbook in the 12 by 12 sleeves. Okay? All right, so let me get that book. And speaking of Paula in our thing here, let's show that too. So this is the one book I do want to finish from front to back. But I don't color it front to back or even necessarily complete. See, here's the girl right there that I copied and cut out. Let me show you the page. I put it in the back of my glue book here. So there is one plain and one colored. Okay. Thanks, yeah, Lynn. That was the most of those were the Can Company or Prima or Iron Design, IOD, Iron, what is it? What is it? Iron Orchid Designs from Prima. They're old now. I don't even know if they still do IOD designs. But those are from, let's see here. The romance novel's just from 2012. You can probably still get it, but some of these are older. This one. Why can't I find one when I want one? Okay, what did I do with it? I just saw it. Ah, here we go. Iron Orchid, these are from, that's the Rue, one's from the Rue collection, and it's from 2007. I think the other one was from 2006. That was back when they put dates on it. They don't put dates on scrapbook paper anymore. I guess they don't want you to think they're old anymore. Anyway, so this is the Secret Paris, and I did see their Secret Cities and Secret New York is out. I did see them at Books A Million this weekend. I did not buy them. Now, these particular books, they were in the Secret Cities and the Secret New York were in the art section. They weren't out there on that color book. I don't think so. Maybe Secret Paris was, but the other two I think were just in the art section. So you got to kind of look around. Thanks, Vicki. Yeah, I did the yoke in different contrasting. Yeah. They have new cards. Yeah, I've seen they have postcards. Yeah, I've seen that, Z. So anyway, this is the book that Paula and I are determined to actually color all the way through. But I don't color a whole page. I'll color bits. And I haven't worked in it in a couple of weeks, I do have to say. I haven't worked in it in a couple of weeks, except to do like her and then cut her out. I mean, copy and cut it out and put it in another book. But I do want to completely finish this book from end to end. And so that means not using marker. Okay, now right here I can see that pencil. That pencil has kind of transferred over to this page. Okay, it didn't go through, it transferred over. So, you know, you got to be careful, all that stuff. But this is one, because I'm not using any markers to underpaint it, you have to either use dry acrylic paint and then color pencil, or just color pencil, because you don't want it to go through. And your markers will definitely go through these pages. But this is one book that I do want to eventually finish, even though it's not something that I'm doing cover to cover. I just do bits here and there, like one pair of shoes, you know, one little outfit or whatever. But I love Secret Paris. Eventually I'll probably get Secret Cities and Secret New York. But I just, you know I won't get to that right now. So I did not buy one single color book over the weekend. I was so proud of myself. All right, so again, we're going to go over here with the Japanese kimono designs, and I have done a few of these, and in this case, because they're just one-sided, I have no problem just tearing these out, coloring them, and cutting them out. Here's the reason. Hey, Ben. It's kind of bouncing in and out. Thanks for stopping by. I talked about your 4-hour hangout from Friday night, Ben. So everybody's got to go over there and check that out. Now, here's the thing for me. Oh, you mean clear gesso on the back? Well, the problem with that, Pam, is if you put clear gesso on the back page that has something there, you have gesso. You have even clear gesso, which will change the texture of your pencil. Then you gesso the back page. You won't be able to color on the back if you gesso the back page. Now, if it's something like this, here's the thing with this. You don't care if it comes through on a single-sided page. You know? You got the kimono one, Angie? Yeah. But if you gesso over one of these, it's going to change the texture and the consistency. It won't be as smooth to color pencil on if you have gesso on a page. So I wouldn't. That's just, you test it out. Test it out on something you print out, though. All right, so I'm just going to kind of look here and kind of see. I want a single figure, and I prefer it on, looking onto the end, looking in rather than looking off. In other words, I'd rather have her looking into the page than her looking off the page. So I'm just going to kind of flip through here until I find one that I really like. She's got she would probably fit in there right nice. So would she. And there's little birds on there. I could color those little birds to match that bird. Okay, I'm liking her. So far I'm going with the one with the birds. These girls are looking off. I want her looking in. She's sitting down. She won't fit. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with that one with the birds, just because she has birds in the kimono. She's pretty too, but I like the one with the birds. So I think I'm going to go with her. So again, if you don't want to tear your things out of your book, or if it's a double-sided page, you want to make a copy. But I don't mind tearing it out. Here's one of the reasons why I don't mind tearing it out. I know I will never color this picture twice, or it's very unlikely that I will color this exact same image twice. But if you don't, if you don't want to tear your books up and all that, then just make a copy to color and cut out. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I need a piece of cardstock to give me a little cushion. The other thing too is, even if you're coloring a single-sided page in your book, make sure, even though it may or may not come through, put a piece of cardstock or something behind that page, not only so that you prevent something from coming through and going on to the next page, but also so you're not denting in this page with the pencil. It's just best to have something behind it, and I'm just going to do that. But I'm also going to, let me get some scissors here. Again, I'm not going to fussy cut because I want to have some excess right at the moment to go off the edge if I need to blend out the edges. But I'm not going to fussy cut yet until I finish coloring her. But this is where she'll live. And it won't cover up the bird quite as much because, she'll be fussy cut out. So there's where she'll live. Okay, hey Sandy. Anybody else popping in? Yeah, Cinder Block. Ben's coming and going. Anyway, bye Ben. He's coming and going. He's probably like, oh my gosh, it's a room full of crazy ladies. But Ben, seriously, Ben is awesome. Y'all go follow him on YouTube, Cinderblock Studios. Okay. All right, so I'm thinking it's probably going to be best for me to color it on here so that you can, for one, it won't flash out. And I'll just hold her up. I can zoom in some, but when we zoom in, you know, we pixelate. But I just kind of wanted to give y'all another idea of what to do with color book pages. So hopefully, let me get something over here to kind of focus. There we go. There's something else I was going to say. Oh, if you don't have the inspiration from the page to go from to choose colors, go to design-seeds.com, design-seeds.com, and you can subscribe to an email, and they will send you twice a day, like I think it's 5, I forget how many, I know it's 6, I think, 6 color combination, like paint chip color combinations that go together, and they'll give you a little photograph. Let's say it's tan, 3 shades of blue, and a brown, and then they show you pictures of some sea rocks or something that are those colors. So if you need color combination inspiration for anything you color, then look at design-seeds.com. Yeah, depending on who it is, exactly. Angie. Thanks, there's the link from Vicki. Yeah, design-seeds, plural.com. And you can see all the color combinations there, so you don't have to sign up for an email if you don't want to. But if you like to get those in the mail every day, I think there's 2 a day. Or you can just go there, and they have a couple, 2 or 3. No, they have 2. They have a main. They have a main color combination. Then they have, I think it's called, not subtle. It's called something else. But they have a couple of places where you can see all kinds of color book inspiration. All right, let me see if I can kind of square this up a little. And I can try to, let me go ahead and I'll zoom in 1. I'll have to refocus. Let's see what we can do here. I want you to be able to see a little. All right, so let me re-auto-focus for you guys. Maybe brighten it just a little. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but you'll get the idea. Oh, that's too bright. Dang. I tried to brighten it up and got it too bright. Because it will flash out if I'm not careful. All right, I think that's good. All right, so sip of coffee here. Thanks everybody again for being here. Hope you got some ideas, some inspiration, what to do, some of the stuff with your color book. All right. Now, you can do multiple things in different ways of coloring. Again, you can use your Copics and do a lot of blending. I'm not a Copic girl, and all my blending is pretty much done with color pencil, not marker. But these cheap Crayola markers that you can get, 50 of them, with a coupon for like $5 or $6. They're just water-based. Now, when I say water-based, I don't mean they're watercolor markers that will blend. They're just cheap kids, super tip Crayola markers. They don't blend, okay? I just want to stress that. When I say watercolor, I mean they're water-soluble. They're water-based. But they're not blendy kind of markers. But I don't use them to blend. I do all my blending with color pencil. But you can use these. You can use your Inktense. You can use your Neocolor. Maybe I'll do a little Neocolor today instead of the markers, because I've been using the markers to like do some basing. I think I'll do Neocolors today, just to mix it up. But you could use your Inktense, your Neocolor. Let me come up under my. You can use watercolors, just plain watercolors. Let me get a water brush. But remember a couple things. If you're going to use a water brush, whether it's a water brush or just water, okay, I'm still a little crooked there. Whether you're using a water brush or a brush dipped in water with watercolors or your neocolors, ink tints, whatever, you have to remember it's water. If you go crazy with the water, your paper is going to wrinkle. Now, if it buckles a little, it's okay, especially if you're going to glue it down to something else. You can usually, get a little of the buckling out when you glue it, with a good coat of, on the back of, Eileen's Tacky or something like that. You'll probably get some of the warping out. If you're not sure, test it out. Test it out on a bit of the back page of your color book, because all the different color books are a little bit different. They're a little thicker or thinner. The texture is just a little bit different. So the weight is a little different of each. So test that out. So be very light-handed with the water if you use water. Now, you can always use acrylic paints. I just use the cheap Americana acrylic paints with no water. Okay, when I put like a bit of acrylic paint on something, but to color pencil on top of, maybe I'll do a little of both here. I don't put any water in the, those markers are great for watercoloring card images. Yeah, exactly. They are. They're great markers. I love them, but they're not blendable like Copics and things like that. But yeah, that's true, Linda. Hey, Ash, anybody else popping in? Z and Renee, thanks guys for being here. Thanks everybody for popping in. If I miss saying hi to you, I try to say hi before I hit record, but if I see your name and I haven't said hi to you, I'll try to call you out. I mean, say good morning politely. Okay, so so be careful. And I know I get my teacher voice on when I start saying this. Be careful. Don't put too much water. You're going to warp and wrinkle your paper. But anyway, I just don't want y'all to be disappointed in the process. So if you're not sure, it's always best to make a copy to practice on and see what happens with your different things, okay? But I think I will do a little of both. I'll use a little acrylic and a little Neocolor. And then I blend on top with color pencil. After, again, I cannot stress this enough, teacher voice here. Make sure it's 100% dry, no matter what you use. Markers, Copic markers, water-based, whatever kind of markers, Neocolor, ink tints, acrylic paint, whatever kind of anything you put as a base that's wet. Either hit it with a heat gun or make sure it's 100% dry. And I mean not even damp. Because if you try to blend color pencil on top of damp paper, you will not be a happy camper. I try to say these things over and over, guys, because I don't want you to be, oh my gosh, why didn't Dee Dee tell me that's got to be dry? Look, I ripped a hole in it, okay? All right, so I think what I'll do, let's see, do I want to start maybe with the acrylic in the major areas? And I'm considering these colors. I don't want her to be so, in other words, I don't want her whole kimono orange. She'll just fade away. So I really would want more of the burnt orange color, the burnt, like a kind of a orangey red, or even the that's a little too red, I think. Maybe not. I'm just kind of looking, do I want to kind of mix those two so it's not too red? I think I'll use a couple shades of red. So it's not this dark, but it's not that red. And do the edges of her kimono. Again, because I did not fussy cut, I can go off the edges. And if I get out of lines, you get out of line. Don't get out of line. All right, let me go under here and get a smaller brush. Always dip your brush Don't get it wet. I mean, you got to get it wet to dampen it, but don't ever put a completely dry brush into your paint because you're going to start to ruin your brush. Your brushes will last a lot longer if you just dip them in the water and damp off on a paper towel. I'm over here damping off to get all the excess moisture out, but it's not completely, it's not a dry brush that you're going to be dipping into your paint with. Okay, let's see. No questions. Okay, so I want at least some of the edges of her kimono to be like that rusty red kind of color. And then I might go in there with some Neo colors for the background. Or if you just want to use markers, it doesn't matter, whatever you want to use as the base. Because once that's dried, that's when you can go in there and blend. Again, let me say, it depends on how much time you want to take, how much you enjoy the process. You don't want to spend 3 weeks on this, or maybe you do. But realize that if you spend 3 weeks on this, that's all you're going to get done in 3 weeks. I don't have that kind of time. So, I'm not so fussy that it takes me weeks to color it, but nothing wrong with it if that's what you want to do. If you want to take tons of time to color a page and you're going to give it as a gift like someone suggested or something. And also, I need a sheet of paper here. I need a tester. I like to test my colors to make sure it's what I'm going to want. So I'm going to just kind of go like that. Okay. Although I don't want to stick it on the paper. Okay, I do want it a little bit darker. I think I need I'm going to add a little bit of brown. And I'm going to need some brown anyway. It may not be in her kimono, I don't know, but I want just a touch of brown. I love trying to mix exact colors. So that's part of the process, fun part for me. So there we go. I got that. That is almost the exact color. But that takes time, to be able to blend colors exactly. That's why a nice set of, tons of Neo colors that I already mixed for you is nice too. So whatever works. Just kidding, Vicki. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to, again, she's not fussy cut out, so I can go, if it gets out of lines a little bit or something. But basically what I'm trying to do here is the edges of her kimono, where the edges are going to be this color so that she'll stand out. Now you can always ink the edges on the little fairies that I did. I inked them around the edges. So and this brush might be a little big in some of these areas, but we'll see. But I basically want the main thing to be is the edge, the outer edge of the kimono so that it stands out from the paper. Hey, Stevie Lisha. Anybody else popping in? Thanks for being here. And she's got all kinds of little designs, and I know you probably can't see the detail yet. I'll try to hold it up the camera every now and then, but I'm talking it out as best I can so you can kind of get the gist of it. Know what I mean, Vern? And if I don't get right up, okay, let me show you right here. Like right here, I'm not right up to the edge right there. I don't know if you can see that. But if you know you're going to come in here and do some more shading, doesn't even have to be perfect with the base coat, because you're going to go in there and with color pencil, remember? So if you don't get it like right in those little teeny tiny pointy bits, although you can get your pointy brush out and get in those spots, but if you don't, you just know that you're going to get in there with color pencil. So let's see, and I really should get a smaller brush. I mean, I'm fighting this one, and I don't have to when I have pointy, smaller brushes. Let's see. Let me go under here again. All right. I love the Master's Touch you get at Hobby Lobby, and they were on sale a couple weeks ago, 50% off. So this is like a $5 brush. I got it for $2.50. What I love about them is the handle. They're substantial. They're perfectly smooth. But if you're going to buy craft brushes, I recommend getting the plastic handle ones. I have a few that are the wood ones that are, you know, the wood chips off, even though I don't leave my brushes in water, except maybe while I'm sitting here. But the plastic handle ones are really nice. But these are wood, but they're coated. So it's not going to be like the cheap craft ones that are going to, the paint's going to chip off. But this one is a tiny, what was this one called? This is a 3, I can't read it, but it's tiny. So something like this is good for your color book. Or like a real pointy brush. As long as it's pointy. It doesn't have to be tiny if it's pointy. Okay, so, but I don't use my water brushes for acrylic at all. I keep these just for water base, like Inktense, Neocolor, or watercolor. I do not use these for acrylic paint at all. Not saying you can't, but you better make sure you clean them well. I'm always thinking the acrylic paint's going to get up inside, so I don't even attempt to use my water brushes with acrylic paint. A little bit more red. And always, if you want to, you know, get in the habit, if you want to keep your points sharp, roll. Every time you pick up paint, don't just like pick up paint like that. Roll it off. Like roll the brush. When you roll it, you automatically get a point. So I basically, like I said, the main thing I want to get are the edges around the kimono in this darker magenta, not kind of rust color, I guess. But look how that's not perfectly flat there. But I'm going over all this with color pencil. Bye, Z. Thanks for stopping in. I think I've caught up to everything but your video from yesterday. It's the last one I got. I'm caught up with Xandra. Xandra, she's kind of like Carrie with her like soothing kind of voice. You know, you just kind of relax when you watch Xandra's shows. All right, so again, this might get a little tedious, so I'll try to talk about something while we're dinner. If y'all got any questions or anything, just ask so that we have something to talk about, because I know it's really hard to see this. When I try to, when I try to get the camera really close, I can do it on an angle, which distorts the image. You know, it makes it like, you're looking at it like that. Okay, but you can see the clarity of the camera, but it flashes out. And I'd rather have it a little further away than flashing in and out. So, I didn't see what happened. Vicki says something about pressing too hard with her pencils. I missed that, Vicki. Something happened to your page. Just kind of going around these little birds here. So I'm going to do a little acrylic and a little Neocolors. Again, no water. It's not going to buckle here because they're such small places. Now, if you used acrylic paint on something this big, you're probably going to have it buckle even without water. But these little bitty things like this, as long as there's not a lot of water, it won't buckle your page. It's cool. Because I'm going to show you, Orla, how you can use either one. I'm just mixing it up. You could use markers in here too, depending, like if you don't have the colors, let's say you didn't have a bright yellow something, you only had it in marker. We'll use the marker with the bright yellow, use some acrylic, use whatever you have. It'll all work, as long as it's not very wet. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that part. Let's see, I'm just kind of deciding what areas I want what color. I'm going to have that be a little bit lighter color than the shadow here. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here for 2 hours and color this whole thing. I'll get the bulk of it done, cut her out, and show you how it looks, but I don't know how far we will actually get finishing it. Do I want a little bit right in here, going around that edge? And again, you know, I try to kind of hurry on stream so that you see a lot done, but I can't hurry so much that it, you know, I do a sloppy job either here. So it's kind of like a little of both, a little hurrier, but not too, so much that, that it looks messy or not as good as I could do. So yeah, you can either use one or the other or multiple things. Depends on what you like to use. Or 3 days coloring it, right? Okay, I think I want this bit in here. And I also try not to turn my page very much, but if you're coloring, you know, turn it upside down, you know, whatever works. I try to kind of keep it level for you to, you know, kind of watch along. So anything else going on? Y'all taking any other classes? Anything going on? Anybody y'all want to talk about or promote? Feel free. We're all, you know, I personally like to share, you know, different people that are doing different things around, you know, whether it's YouTube, Ustream, classes you're taking, you know, anything that's inspiring you to do some art and be creative. It doesn't have to be just here. And I also showed y'all how you don't have to necessarily, like for instance, hair. You don't have to color in between the lines on every strand of hair. You can color the hair a solid like we did blue on that one girl. Solid blue, and then just shade and do like an ombre type of coloring so that you're not having to do every little line, but it just depends on the patterns and stuff, you know, that you're trying to accomplish. Okay, Vicky is saying that Walking Dead is starting next Sunday. Vicky is a zombie. I don't know. What is it called when you're all into the zombies? You know? I am not into it, although they do film close to me. Um, I told Vicky sometime she needs to come over and, you know, go stalk the zombies. I'm just not a Walking Dead gal. Okay, let me. I wanted my brush was starting to crust up with dry because it's so tiny. It's starting to crust up with dry paint as I'm doing it here. So I wanted to clean the brush and get it nice and pointy again. I'm going to need a little bit more brown. I used it up. I used up the brown in my tray there. I'm trying to keep it kind of a real red brown so that it stands out from the background. Inktense is another, you know, way to get in there, you know, tight. But again, you got to be careful with the water. No, it's not Marilyn. I wouldn't call, I don't know, it wouldn't be a geek. Hi there, art unit, Linda. I mean, you can geek out on anything. I would say that Vicky is a Walking Dead geek, but I'm trying to think of what would like, like Star Trek would be, Trekkies. Is there something like that for Walking Dead? Vicky, do you know? Somebody will probably leave it in the comments. No, no. Oh my goodness. Deadheads. Good one, Christy. Yeah, like the band, they used to call oh, what's his name now? I can't think of his name. I picture him with his tie-dye T-shirt. What's his name from the? They called them Deadheads. Can't think now. Anyway, but that's good for The Walking Dead, Christy. Deadheads. Vicky. I can't call my Vicky a deadhead. Undead heads? Gene. Gene said undead heads. Jerry Garcia, Grateful Dead. Yeah, that's that was who was in my head, Vicky. Jerry Garcia, yeah. But, yeah. But Deadheads is perfect for that. Listen to me, I don't even watch the show. All right, let's see. Maybe right back here on this edge. I just want enough that when I cut her out, she's going to stand out from the edge. I mean, from the orange. Grateful Dead. Here you go. I got to turn this one over to get along this edge here. He'll crack me up. Okay, so I think it needs right under this little bit here. See how that'll make her stand out from this, but it still has enough here. Now also, and I did do this on one of those scrapbook papers that I showed y'all. If y'all just came in late, let me pull that back out and show y'all what we're doing here. Let me find it again. Don't feel like you can't color on this too. If you want to brighten some of this or darken some of that, let's say you really have a lot of black outline contrast, like before I grayed out these butterfly wings, but I wanted them nice and black. Well, then go in there and add black on your flowers. You can color on this too. You can color on this, paint on this. Now you're not going to, obviously you're not going to cover up. Well, you just have to test it out. I don't want to say you can't do anything because there's a way to do it. You can paint on it if you wanted to. I could paint these darker. Here, let me get a little paint here. I'm going to get some of the exact same color I'm using there. But if I want to darken up a little bit on the tips, I'm going to make it just a little browner. So that's just a little browner on the tips of the flowers, the edges of the flower. So you can paint on your, the scrapbook paper or whatever it is you're using if you want to darken that up just a little. And you can also blend it with color pencil. So that's what I did here on this one. I just put a little bit of the same ink that I edged this with and that I edged the fairy with. I edged her with the brownish, orange brown kind of ink. I put a little bit in there just to tie that in. Now, I don't want to, there's paint on that. Let me set it to the side. And then, but I kind of grayed her down so that there was no harsh black lines, so that when she's on here, she kind of fits more into this particular paper. And even then, it's still pretty contrasted, but just so you can see that. And then the same thing for this one. Now, where'd the little girl go? Oh, here she, no, what? Oh, there she is. Same thing for this page. I muted out all the harsh black. See, this was very dark black outlining, and so it depends on if you are going to put it on something more muted, you might want to mute out that darker edge. And then she's going to fit like right up under there. Like that. But because those harsh black lines aren't there, she kind of fits in a little better than she would if it was dark. But you could always go in there and add other things. There's the little bitty tiny fairies. You could stick one standing on top of that flamingo head if you wanted. I mean, there's just whatever, whatever you want, your imagination. Don't let your color books be the boss of you. Cut them up, use them. At the very least, make a copy so that you're, not freaking out that you cut something out of your color book. Yes, you've got to make sure it's dry. Make sure it's dry. And I got my heat gun, so before I do anything, I'll use my heat gun. But if you don't have one and you're just coloring, you want to, make sure it's dry. Okay, so I want a little bit more of this brownish red in a couple of these folds here. That. I'm just looking it over and seeing if there's some other little areas that I might want to add a little bit of this. Maybe right here on this little bit here. Now my paint, because I'm under 5 lights and a fan, it's drying out really quick. So, acrylic paint dries fast anyway, but you really don't want to add water if you can help it. Thanks, CB Lisha. Well, not really. I mean, you get ideas. Like I said, not that I would have never ever thought about it, but Vicki said, well, they're so pretty, we should frame these. Well, when she said that, I framed scrapbook papers with one picture on it of my grandchildren or whatever. Why not use those pretty scrapbook papers as a background for your color page? And then and also, though, not just frame them, but you could put them in a scrapbook, in your 12 by 12 sleeve. So, the inspiration for that idea came from Vicki. So we all, it all works out. We all get ideas from each other. If I get an idea from I try to remember or write it down on a Post-it note, although I didn't have a problem remembering Vicki, but, if it's someone you don't really know, you think, oh, that's a great idea. I try to, tell where I get inspiration from, too. I think we all pretty much do that. All right, so let me get along that edge and take a look again and see if there's anywhere else I want to make sure. I think that will be okay. That'll be okay. I think one of those folds. I have to get a sip of coffee here. And depending on what you have, like I have more colors in color pencils probably than I do, say, in watercolors. Now, if mix your watercolors well, then that's not a problem. But it just depends on what you have. Use what you have. I mean, we need to do a whole show just using color crayons. Although, I don't know about bringing out that box of my sniffables. Yeah, those frames for Michaels. Yeah. Yeah, well, they have a piece of glass on them, and they're just black frames. I think they have them in red too. I always just buy the black ones. They're just black frame, square 12 by 12 frames, and they're always on sale. You can get them for $4.99 all the time. So, just to frame them. Now, me, I don't have a place to hang anything like that. I have two places in my dining kitchen area where I have two 12 by 12 frames of the grandkids or the kids. I swapped those out, although I haven't been scrapbooking for some months. I have 25 3-inch ring binders full of scrapbook pages over the last, at least, let's see, Cam is 16. So, at least 16, 17 years worth of books. But I keep a couple of rotating pages in those two frames. So I always have two, one or two, depending on if I need that framed for something else. But I keep those down there and then rotate those out as they grow older or whatever. Well, I don't know. We all have areas. We all have areas that are our thing. It's just that I've been at it a long time. You you get a lot of practice over 50 years, right? Okay, so I think that will be good for the bulk of the darker. But you see how I kind of got a little lighter there, a little darker in the folds, darker on there. So, that's one of the nice things about using some acrylic paints. You get a little different shades in there. But again, I'm going to go over a lot of it with color pencil. So, shade and highlight in there. Let me do one section. Let me draw something and just do a little section there just so you can see what I'm talking about. And if you don't want wrinkles, also it's good to dry the back side. Will help prevent wrinkles, and that's in any kind of water, paper, anything if you add water to paper. All right, so I'm just going to I want to get a dark, I want it to be obvious. Let me go ahead and get black and a light tan sort of color. Let's see here. Because, I'm thinking about this. Okay, so I really don't want a lot of black, but I'm going to just do a little bit here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to work just in this little fold right there. Okay, right in that little fold. So there might be right at the edge, there might be a real dark area down in there, or say right in here. And you can always get that color too if you have it in color pencil, like that kind of a burnt sienna type of color. And kind of get some of that in there. And then I'm going to take my tan and have a highlight, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So see how I got a couple of different shades. There's the black and some black up there, but then right here, the light makes it look like another extra bend in the fold. See, you can do that with color pencil. But if you don't want a harsh line, you want that blended, then take your color that's as close to it as you have, and kind of blend off the edges. You just, that's where all the blending fun comes in with color pencil. See? If you want it a little darker right along the fold, make sure your pencils are sharp. I'm just going to shade right along that fold. See? Hope that shows up. And then you do that in all the different areas. Come down here. Just do another little area where it might be a little more shadowed. Again, I don't want to overemphasize, I don't want to get too black because there's not any real black in here. I mean, you want a little contrast, but you don't want this to look like, well, I don't want to say don't want it to look like something. You can have it look like whatever you want. I should just say I don't want it to be too harsh of a contrast. But I do want a little bit of shadow in some of those areas. Just a couple. So I'm just going to come in there real quick. And always have a light touch with your color pencils. Light touch. No matter what you're doing. You want light touch. It's better. Alright, just want a few little areas. And the pencils, you can sharpen up everything too. Like if you're acrylic paint, you know, you got a little bit of, it's not perfectly up into the little nooks and crannies. That's where you come in with that sharp pencil and really, you know, sharpen it up. And again, I know people go, why do you spend all that time on a color book page and coloring and all those color books? Well, it does help you practice. I mean, if you're not used to color pencil blending or any kind of your mediums, if you're not used to trying to get nice sharp details, it's great practice for whatever you do. And sometimes you just don't feel like working on a major painting, but you want to do something creative, even if it's just practicing color combinations. You know, you wonder how is a blue-gray going to look with that. You know, you don't know. A color book page is a great way to kind of test it out in an all-over design. So, if you don't like color books, don't email me. Okay, so I just got a little bit of sharpness in some areas. Okay, sip of coffee. All right, now before I do any more with just pencil, I want to, you know, let me go ahead and, because I said I was going to do a little bit with the Neo colors. So just to show you different things to do. And again, I've not fussy cut her out. I will fussy cut her out before the show's over. Okay. How is Bella feeling, by the way, Paula? I hope she's okay. All right, so I love my Neocolor. I have the 84 set. They're not cheap, but let me tell you, they last forever. I've had these for, I think it'll be 3 years in February. And I use them quite often. Now, I don't use them as much as color pencils, but they last, I mean, they're so pigmented. I'm telling you, you don't have to necessarily get this big a set, but I would totally recommend getting some kind of a small set of the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. Make sure you get the 2, and it doesn't have a number 2, and it's like, you know, it's like Roman numeral 2, because they're the water-soluble ones. The Neocolor ones are just like wax crayons. They are not water-soluble. So if you want the water-soluble properties of the Neocolor, get the Neocolor 2. Okay. So I think I'm going to go with a little bit of, now this color is not exactly that color. Let's see, maybe I should go with a little bit more purple. A purple or blue. I think that would show, actually it could be, to me it's a combination of the both. So let me go ahead and show you. That's another tip I can show you here. Let me get my little tray. Let me go back under the thing here. Now, it can be any kind of non-porous surface. I have one of these watercolor porcelain trays. They're real cheap at Blick. I think I paid $3 for this one a few years ago. But any kind of non-porous, so it can be a palette, like a watercolor palette, fine, same thing. But I want to show you a couple different things you can do with the Neocolors. And most of us all here know how to do all this, but I'm just going to over-explain because that's just the way I roll. Okay, so with the Neo colors, you can do a couple different things, and I'll just do it here on where I'm going to cut it out just to show you. You can pull off. You can pull off, which is probably what I would recommend for a color book page. Just pull off a little bit of the color and color with it. Okay, there is that option. I use a Kleenex instead of a paper towel, just because it just seems to work better. It just like absorbs it real quick and smooth to clean your brush off in between colors on a Kleenex instead of a paper towel. It just, I don't know why, it just works better. They're softer, they're smoother, they just work better. So there's that way of doing it, where you can just pull the color off like that. And I'm not squeezing the brush. The water is just there. Okay, don't squeeze, don't get it over wet. And so you can do it that way and then clean off. All right, so there is that way to use your Neo colors. You can also color in a section and then move it. It'll move with water. Again, doing that, that's going to be kind of hard to do in these tiny sections. You know what I mean, Vern? It's going to be hard to use one of these crayons to get in there. You could, like in some of these bigger sections, but you know, those little tiny things like that, you're not going to be able to actually get the detail with this. Whereas if you pull it off with the tip, you can get right in there. Okay? So you can do it that way. You can color and wet or pull the paint and use it that way. The other thing that you can do is these are very good for blending. A tray, a porcelain tray, or any kind of your watercolor palettes. You can, if you want, it's like these colors to me, I needed almost both colors to get that color, that kind of gray, and I might even have to add some gray. But if you just put down the colors like that, okay, in your tray, and then take your water brush, you can mix them, just like you could a watercolor. So you can make another color. All right? So, mixing them. So I am going to go ahead, and it's still, to me, it needs, I'm looking at the color and I can tell that's not the exact color I need. And I can just, because I've done it a lot, can kind of tell what kind of color it might need in it. It almost needs a little bit of green. Could almost just use a stroke of green. Just to green it, gray it down. Just a touch. Okay. Now, if you're going to be mixing color like this, 2 or 3 colors, you want to make sure you have enough to do the area, because unless you don't care if it's all a little bit different. But what I'm trying to do here is I want to get these birds. So I've got plenty there to do the 2 or 3 birds that are in her kimono. Maybe only 2. Okay. So I'm just picking that up. But that's another way to use your Neo colors if you want to mix. Is just mix them in your porcelain tray, or anywhere that you can color, like a watercolor palette. Okay. And I'm not sure if that's a bird wing there, but I'm going to make it one. I'm going to make that a bird wing, and I think I'll make, do I want any other bird wings anywhere? Or is that enough? Maybe just those 3. But I think I also want her little headpiece, her comb. They have these combs in their hair. I think I'm going to make it the same color as the bird. Okay, so there we go. It's very subtle. And when that dries, I can go in there with color pencil and do some shading. Okay, I can shade out those birds. Or let it dry and put another, some more Neo color in a little darker color. But those are the different ways you can use your Neo color. And what I really like about the porcelain tray is this. Take a baby wipe or, whatever while it's wet, and it's just like perfectly new. Okay, so these trays, or just like I said, even just a watercolor, your little, your little watercolor sets. I got a couple, 2, 3 different kinds, or you can just use watercolor. If you don't have Neo colors, use your watercolors. Or your Inktense. Now, the only thing that I could say that you probably could not blend your color pencil on top of if you put it down for a base, is anything that is like like crayons, waxy, a Neocolor one, your crayons, anything that's water, like kind of, waxy or resistant. You're not going to be able to blend on top of wax. You're not going to be able to blend on top of wax with what do you call it, color pencil. Hey, Moomy. Hey, Stacks. Anybody else popping in? You might have missed. Thanks, everybody, for being here. AG. Let's kind of go down the list, see who I might have missed. Brent. C79. Kari. Hey, Kari. Carol. CB. CBlicious. Sandy. Hey, CJ. Anybody else? Hey, Carrie, what are you doing lurking down there? We were wondering if you were sleeping in today. Oh, where'd she go? There she is. I said we had to let the pixie sleep in. There's Eileen. Eileen snuck in there somewhere. Who else I might have missed? Let's see, Kathy. I said hi to Carrie Ann. I say and Lynn. I try to say hi to everybody in between the recorded shows. But there's Sunset Carol. If I missed Whippy. Hey, Whippy. So thanks everybody for being here. Okay, so anybody got any questions on any of this yet, or now, or whatever, on using the different things? All right, so maybe I should have kept some of that blue. Now I'm kind of wanting some stripes of that blue in there with the birds. Probably would be a nice touch. But I want some bright green too. Some bright green. So let me go ahead and do with my Neocolor. Let's see. Again, I can kind of test it out over here to make sure that it's the color I want. Don't need quite that. It's a little more olivey. So going with that olive green kind of. Maybe a little of that. Probably more, a little brighter actually. Could go a little brighter, maybe even that bright. Let's see, because there's a lot of that kind of lime green. We'll just add a little lime green. We can always go in and shade it and shadow it with color pencil. Thanks, Vicki. Well, that's fun. All right, so there's a lot of this vine stuff in her kimono. Now, I'm not going to go in there. You could. I'm not going to go in there and color every one of those leaves. Now, two things that come to my mind. If I'm going to do a wash sort of over the bulk of those leaves, they're going to still show through if I use a light color. The other thing is, though, you want to make sure that if you do that, like over here, I know that that's acrylic, right? It's kind of the same thing with any mixed media. If you are using mixed media in your coloring like this, you want to make sure that that's acrylic there. That's not like Neocolor that will move. So if I took this green and tried to do a wash right here where the brown is, and that was Neocolor, I would move that. I'd get them all mixed up together. But I know that's acrylic, so I know it's dry. It's not going to move. If it was color pencil, same thing. I could still do this, even though that was color pencil. But if that brown was Neocolor, and I did this, I'm going to mix them together. So you have to kind of be aware, if you are doing, mixed media on your piece, what's what, or just stick with all, acrylics or all water, whatever, just so that you can remember what's what. But if you're going to do all kinds of different, that's the same thing in your art journal. If you cut these pieces out and you've used Neocolors, watercolor, ink tints, or anything that can possibly move with water, and you cut this out and you put it in your art journal and you start slapping mediums and all kinds of stuff, you're going to mess this up, okay? I cannot go over this now with, and I know there's fixatives. If you want to test out different fixatives and spray fixatives and all that, go for it. I just am not one to do all that. But, if you want to, feel free. Right now, I'm just kind of doing little bits of washes over all the green vines. And then if I want to like extra define around any of the vines, I'll do that with color pencil. I'm just pulling it right off of the tip of the Neocolor and going in there and finding all the little green where I want green vines to be. So if that makes sense. I just, I would hate for y'all to mess up your page, going slapping some matte medium over the top of this and having the whole thing smear. How I glue these down in my art journal, now it depends on, again, which journal I'm putting them in. If I put it in what I call my glue book, that big thick book that has thin pages where my Aleene's Tacky will buckle it all up, I'll just put it in with a glue stick. But that's because it's, it's a thin paper. But in this case, it's going to go on a scrapbook paper here. Where's my cap? Hang on here. Since it's going on here on a thicker scrapbook page, after I cut it out, I will glue it down with my Aleene's Tacky. Again, I know I say this every time I go to glue something. When you bead it all up, I put it in a foam book or off on another paper that I can like literally rub the glue all the way off the edge. So it goes all the way to the edge so there's nothing going to be sticking up, okay? And you don't want to leave those beads of glue because you'll see that. It'll bump up. And if you glue it before you color it, or in my case, it'll be still partially, I'll need to partially, color some more after I glue it. Make sure that is dry. Make sure the glue is like 100% dry. If it's even damp and mushy from the glue, your pencil is you'll dig into the paper and you'll indent the paper because the paper is damp with a coat of glue. Make sure it is dry before you go back and color more. Okay, let's see, do I have some more? All right, so I think I got all the, nope, I missed one here. So let me go back here. Got a couple more little spots where I want that lime green. Okay. Okay, question. Jean said she uses medium to activate her needle. Yeah, I've seen her do that before. And that's a good idea. The thing about what would bother me with something like that. Okay, so Lynn was saying that Jean said she uses her medium to activate her neos to make them permanent, and that's great. But when you're doing something this tiny, for one, to me, it's not worth the trouble. Two, you might get it too wet. You got to be careful not to get this is just like, just one step up from computer paper in these color books. You got to be careful not to, if you get it too wet, it's going to start buckling and wrinkling or going through, which that's fine if you're going to glue it on something, but I would definitely test. But yeah, it will make it permanent. That is a good point. If it's that important to you to have all this permanent on those little areas, then you could do that. Mix it with some medium in a separate little thing. Yeah. No, the glue won't come through. If you're, I don't know. I guess because I smash it all out, I blend it off. The glue is not, it's not like matte medium that's real wet. That's why I use like Aleene's Tacky. Sorry guys, I froze up with a bunch of incoming mail. Let me get it. There it goes. I'm getting ready to glue her on here and I'll show you. It doesn't come through the top. Now, if you use matte medium on here, like a wet, you know, like my favorite is golden matte medium, which is real runny. You will probably maybe buckle the page unless you're really get it mashed down. It's just not worth the trouble, you know. And on something just on a leather kind of sheet like this, you could just even use a glue stick. Just depends on your paper, your base, you know. But I'm not going to saturate this with matte medium even on the back. Hey, Blondie. But no, it won't come through. The glue won't come through. Now, again, you want to make sure that's dry. That's why I'm not gluing it down till I'm completely done for the day of coloring this before I glue it down with my Aleene's Tacky, because you know how when something's glued down, you can feel it a little mushy, you know, until it's dry. When you try to color pencil, a sharp color pencil on a kind of a wet, damp, mushy paper, you're going to tear it. Simple. All right, so now let me do maybe a little bit of an orange kind of a color. You know, this is a pretty nice color here if I wanted to do it acrylic, but I'm going to go ahead and do another thing with Neo colors. So I'm thinking this color would be good. And again, I can't tell you the colors. I can barely see them myself. And it doesn't really matter. It's what matches your paper, not the exact color I'm using. But I'm going to go in here now with some of the And again, after I do this, I'll go in here and shade with color pencil. I can highlight with some white or brighter color, and I can go in here and shade with a darker orange on the edges and stuff. I think I'll make that little wrap right in there a separate color. And I think I'll do the behind everything that is green. Now again, that's watercolor. This is watercolor too, and so is the Neo color. I mean, they're both Neo colors. So I got to be careful with, you know, it's knowing if I can reactivate that green with this orange. I'm not squeezing my brush. I'm just letting whatever water is like right there already on the tip to just, you know, do the work. Anybody else I might have missed coming in? Thanks for being here. I know when I start explaining things, I get a teacher's voice. I don't mean to. Jean probably goes, Jean says, I've got a teacher's voice all the time. But Jean's a teacher. I mean, a music teacher. I use Jean as an example anytime I bring up the teacher word. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that in here. I want enough contrasting colors in here so that when I cut it out and put it up against this paper, y'all can see a kind of, you know, dramatic color. So now I'm able to go in here with the point of my brush and kind of get in between some of those little vines. Because it's real pointy, this little water brush. But again, you can see it goes pretty quick as far as getting an overall, you know, coverage here. And then you just take more time with tiny pencil shading details. I mean, you could take more time with this too, but I want to get her cut out before y'all go. Hey, Colleen. Colleen, have you bought any new color books this weekend? I think, as far as I know, Colleen has more color books than any of us. I just like to tease her about it. It's no, you know, no big deal. Just like to tease. And again, let me say again, I don't know if Golf Sprite's still here, but Christy Golf Sprite earlier, she put a link, or I asked her to put a link to her. She's selling her faces in a color book form. Not her faces, her drawn faces, in a color book. So, and it's, I think she said $10 for, it's got 12 pages and multiple faces on a lot of them, a lot of the pages. But if y'all know Christy Golf Sprite's style, you would know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about her faces. So y'all go check that out, see if that's something you want to buy. I will put a link in my description, in the YouTube description too. So it's another good way to practice your coloring, shading, and especially on faces with Christy's, I'll just do that little bit right there, with Christy's faces book. I think that's the big bow on the back. So I haven't colored that. There's a name for the big obi sash, I think is what it's called. The obi sash. Okay, so let me stop with that color, and let's see. I think I am going to go back with a little bit. I'm going to try to pick up a little of each of these colors again. The bluebird color, some of that sash color. There's a little sash in there. I think I'm going to do that the same color as the birds, just to kind of bring around. You can't really tell if it's the sash part or the bird part. Darken up that bird. Same for that one. I'm not looking at chat for just a minute, guys. Hang on. And I know that all these colors and kimonos mean things and have meaning. I don't know the meanings or any of that, so I just color like matching my scrapbook paper here. So I almost could use that kind of a blue color in the background of those little, they have these little sticks of bamboo design. Now, if I was not putting this on the color book page, I would have the background of that obi sash behind those little bamboo sticks to be black, because that would make a nice popping contrast. But because I'm trying to, you know, make her fit into this page, I'm not going to put any black. But there is a little bit of this teal color. Let's see, is it more this color? Which one of these two is it more like? It's more this one. Kicked off YouTube for using their, I don't know. Hey, you know, Vicky, I don't know. All right, but I'm going to use this. Nope, that's going to be too stark of a difference. Even though there is teal in that, it's not flowing for me in here. So I'm not going to use the teal. I think what I will do is go with a darker orange. I think, because I used kind of a burnt, you know, that burnt orange color. And I am gonna go back in there with color pencil. So maybe I'll just go with let's see if this is gonna be dark enough, but not as dark as that. This might work. Let's see. I just needed a different shade of orange. There we go. That'll work. Than the other two kind of shades I got in there. It's got a little bit of red tint to it, so that'll kind of be nice too. So let me just do this obi sash real quick. Then we're going to cut her out and set her on the page, see how she looks. And again, I haven't even gone in here yet with color pencil to kind of, you know, shade the different areas. Except that little bit I did with the dark brown. So, but you go in here in all these areas, like where I put the lime green, I will do a little bit of that, show you. Where I put the lime green vines, I can go in there with color pencil, just a little bit different, a little bit darker lime green color. And again, I know I'm going to paint over all these little bamboos, so I don't even really have to be too careful about getting it on that bamboo. But I do want to be able to, so y'all can see the two different patterns there. So again, if y'all are coming in, I did do a part one. Well, it's not really a part one, it's a separate video. I did a separate video with the file folder, which I'll upload to YouTube as well as this one after today's show. Okay, so I think that's all I really want with this kind of, because the sash is a different thing. All right, so there you can kind of see. So yeah, you kind of get a watercolory look, which is nice for that effect. Now let me dry this. If you wanted to carry a color, well, it depends on the paper. Some papers, like this, probably wouldn't take water. I mean, it would take Neocolors. I mean, I could color down here with a Neocolor. You know, let's just put a couple little lines in this flower, for instance. It will do that, you know, because Neocolor is so concentrated. I guess it's going to depend on the type of water medium you're using, how well it'll go on top. Whoops. How well it'll go on top of your scrapbook, but it will definitely, color pencil will definitely go on this paper. And again, it's going to depend on your paper. If you're using a shiny, glossy paper, none of this is going to work. You know, you're not going to be able to do any of this with shiny, glossy paper. Okay, just to kind of show you there. But color pencil, you can go in there and blend. You know, I did some acrylic right there. All right, now real quick before I do anything else, I want to go ahead and let me kind of get a burgundy. Maybe what is this? I don't want mulberry. I want the brown family more than the red family. Let's see. Maybe this one will be okay. It's kind of an ochre. I just kind of want to show you, make sure it's dry. I just want to kind of show you in here where you can kind of now, that's not going to be dark enough to show up. Let me get brown. To show you that now you can go in here, and I haven't colored the little bamboo. I haven't colored the little bamboo yet, but I want to go in here and kind of shadow under it, just so you can kind of see now. You can take your color pencil and go in there and do blending and shadows and shading, and this is where you practice with your color pencils on top of the Neocolor or watercolor or ink tints or acrylic paint. And we're going to cut her out. So fold right there. And then you can take your time and go back over that with a similar, you know, similar color to the one you put with the Neocolor and blend it better. But just so you can kind of see how, see I'm starting to shadow it. Because once I cut this out and glue it on, I've got to let the glue dry before I can get back in here. So I'm trying to get as much shown as possible. And of course, you can always just go in here with your color pencil and do some shade or some color. I'll just have a darker brown right there. So just put a little bit of dark brown there and then go back over it with a couple colors to blend. go back. So anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed a little bit of this. Again, you know, I still have to blend in all these areas like this with a couple shades of, try to do at least one area here. And then like maybe a salmon or a, no. A little salmon color to blend. So see, right there, right in there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and, well, I do want to kind of get some more of those birds. Well, I got a lot more coloring to do, but I can't do it when the glue is wet. So, kind of so once I glue her on, I've got to let the glue dry before I go back with any more color pencil. And in her face, again, let me just, you know, they have that makeup on. They have these little red heart lips and their makeup, and I'll do that later too. I've done other ones with their makeup. I won't do it right now. All right, so just so you can kind of see. So I still have to do all these white areas I got to color still and do more shading and blending in all of her kimono, but I just wanted you to kind of get an idea without trying to rush too much. Where's my, I'll find some scissors here. Here we go. So now I'm going to fussy cut her out real quick and kind of check on chat. If y'all got any other things going on or questions or anything, let me know. While I'm fussy cutting and watching chat. Thanks, guys. It's fun. I just try to give you, you know, we're enjoying these color books so much. We might as well find different ways to use them, right? Whether it's saving bits in your art journal, like an animal or a butterfly or a bird or something like that, that you just like that one element or one person like this. Whether it's on a scrapbook page, in a scrapbook book, in a frame thing, or in your art journal. And again, I might color her hair with a little bit of highlight. It's not real flat black, so it won't be too much of a contrast, but you can always just gray things out, like I showed you with those little fairies, where I went over the dark, dark black with a gray. Depending on what you're putting it on. And it's just good to try all different kinds of techniques and mediums. Jean streams at 4. Anybody else? Is Ash still here? Ash streaming today, or anybody else? Keep us posted. Ash doesn't record, does she? That's bothersome. You can't be there and you can't watch. We have to get on her about that. Joe's the same way. Joe doesn't record very often. So if y'all have any links or anything y'all want to talk about or promote, do it before I go. I turn links off when I leave here. So. Alrighty, let me get rid of this. Wait for it. Yeah, don't go grocery shopping with Ash, huh? Okay. All right. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now remember, there's going to be some white areas on our outfit that I'm not done with, but we'll, do that after a while. Wait for it. Bam! Now again, the white areas look very harsh and stark because, I haven't done anything with them yet. But, okay. So now I'm going to get a phone book. You can use any just scrap piece of paper. But for me, a phone book is a literal glue book. Okay. Just find a, blank page. All right. And again, I'm going to use Eileen's Tacky. You could, depending on what you're doing. I just know that it'll stick with Eileen's Tacky. Okay. And I'm just going to put a coat. And I'm pretty generous with the glue. But don't leave it like that. Don't leave it lumpy bumpy, because then you'll get lumpy bumpies. I just kind of then take my finger, and because it's on the phone book, you can go all the way off the edge. And it's not going to matter because it's just going to be on a phone book page that you're going to close the book anyway, right? So smooth out your glue, go off the edges, then you'll make sure it's glued down really, really well. Okay. Now, you only get one shot at this part now. You got to make sure you know where you're going to put her. Because that's it, Know what I mean, Vern? Now, let me roll the glue off my hands before I put it on top. Thanks. Hey, Romney. How you doing? All right, there we go. Hope everybody's doing well. Hey, Sarah. Sarah, is that a new color book? Oh, Sarah, please tell me it's not a new color book. Let me try not to disconnect myself and save that. Oh, Drawing Magic. Oh my gosh. I know. Amazon's got tons of them. I showed y'all the picture of my Books A Million. In case you weren't here, let me show it again. I might flash out again, but here. Look, this is at my Books A I'm trying to, hang on guys, I'm trying to cover up all the light on the sides. Look, that's the new Books A Million rollout. That's all color books when you first walk into the store, right at the front. Yeah, put y'all's links in anything y'all want. If y'all are promoting something. And thanks again, Christy, for being here and telling us about your, well, I don't know. She's probably thinking, I didn't want to go. She probably didn't want me to go on and on and on about her, but I did. That's just the way we roll. We go on and on and on about people around here. Oh, so anyway, well, it's good to see you. Yeah, well, that's because in UK, some of the times, it's hard for people to get in, especially, I stream 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 on the West Coast. People are either asleep or at work, So there you go. In this case, I didn't cut anything. I didn't cut any flowers to do any tucking or anything. I mean, I specifically have it right there. So, and again, those white places will get colored in, but you don't do it now because I can feel it's mushy from the glue. It's glued down well, but it's a little mushy. And if you start coloring with a pointy pencil, bless your heart. Okay, guys, I'll upload this. Let's see what else was there. I think my Inktober. Let me go ahead. If y'all weren't here earlier, I'll show you. I'll do that either a separate drawing or a separate video later. But this is my Inktober book that I'm doing. So there's my little cover page. There's day 1. I'm trying to keep it all nautical, fish, and I think today I'm going to do a clownfish, but I'm trying to, Hubster said, why don't you put some color in that? I said, well, I'm trying to keep it all in black and white for Inktober. But then I might make copies of it and do colors in them later. But I want to keep them all black and white for Inktober. Here's some coral. But I'm going to do clownfish. It's going to be really hard not to throw some orange on those clownfish. Yeah, so that's day 4. That's yesterday. And so, like I said, today I'm going to do some clownfish. But I have to do that on a separate video. And I'm been here quite a while now. What time? Oh, it's only 11:15. Thanks, Vicki. I can, you know, if y'all want me to do, I can go ahead and do my Inktober. It'll probably take about, it shouldn't take long for a clownfish. If y'all want to stick around for another 15 or 20 minutes, well, you don't have to stick around. I can still do the recording without you. You know what I mean, Vern? All right, so let me pick up my Neo colors here. And I am going to, but I will do a separate recording because I'm trying to have those separate. Thanks, guys. Yeah, well, that would be it. I did say earlier that I might turn them into, if I do turn those into a nautical color book, I'll redraw them 8.5 by 11. But I'm not, you know, I don't know. There's so many color books, you know, now. Christie's is really different. That's why I really like hers, because it's her girl faces. It's not just, I don't know. We'll see. You know, y'all saw the other one that I did, you know, some months back with just my altered photographs. I really like that one. If I'm going to do a PDF or give away a color book one, or, you know, whatever I do with it, it would probably be that one. The one where I did my photographs I showed y'all last week, that would not be it. So, all right, well, let me stop this then. And we can spend a few minutes doing the Inktober. You know, I just draw them live. If they turn out, they turn out. They don't, they don't. So let me save this. And thanks, everybody, for being here if you're watching the color book segment. Okay, we'll be right back. It's called Sketchy App, but really what the app, well, it's just an app on your iPhone. But what it is people post their own photographs for you to draw them. So this is one of the girls that posted her picture for people to get inspiration and to draw from. So that's who I drew on Friday night. And so I think I have a couple. I don't have too many in this book that I've drawn. This is one. This is when Omar Sharif passed away. That's a sketchy girl. There's a sketchy guy. And these are just people that post their photographs for you to draw them. I really liked her. So then I got that was from the show. And then our Mistel, of course. Mistel. And then there's another sketchy girl. So this was the one I drew Friday night. But speaking of faces, let me give y'all another something that you can do. I'm getting ready to show some color book stuff. Christy Gulf Sprite. I'm not going to, just like I say, Julie, I know her last name's not Topaz. It's going to be Christy. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Gulf Sprite. She does awesome whimsy girl faces. Awesome. And they're kind of not as whimsy. They're kind of like more, they have a realistic look to them. Christy has her very own unique style. I recognize her faces anytime I see them. And she has a new color book out. So I'll let her put the link again if she wouldn't mind, if she's still here. And so she has an e-color book out. It's got like 12 pages. Some have more than one face on it. And awesome way to color and practice any kind of your coloring techniques, whether it be paint or color pencil or whatever medium you use. But anyway, Christy's got an awesome hey, Vicki. Christy has got an awesome color book out now, and I'll let her put the link, and I will also put it in the I'll put it in the description box here when let me see if she's posted. I'm going to try to grab if you don't mind posting the link again, Christy, so I can grab a direct link to the color book. Plus, y'all know her on YouTube, and she does have a little promo for that color book. So y'all make sure and check it out because it looks really, really fun. really fun to color her faces. Because she's been on YouTube forever with classes. So y'all just check that out. So hope everybody's doing well. If I miss saying good morning to you. Okay, there it is. Let me grab it real quick and save it, Christy. Let me save it there. So I'll put a link in the description box later. Okay, so speaking of color books, now oh my gosh, you guys, Books A Million now has, they used to have it like when you walk, at the magazine section way at the back, they had a whole section called adult coloring books. And when we say that, it just means that they're color books that are hard to color. They're like not for little kids. They're very detailed oriented. Anyway, I always like to clarify that when I preface it with adult color book. So anyway, they have moved all their color books up to the very front in a whole stand. Now, I can show it to you on my phone. It's going to flash the camera out for a minute. I'll try to, but I want to show you this picture. Oh my gosh. It is, they've got tons and tons of new color books. Plus, you can get them at Books A Million, Amazon. I mean, you can get them all over the place for sure. But look at, let me try to cover up the sides so it doesn't flash out. Look, that's the new Books A Million rollout at the front of the store of color books. That's all color books. So anyway, I was good. I refrained. I did not buy one color book, but I've already got like 10 or 15. So, plus that doesn't even include the clip art books that we can use. But I wanted to show y'all another new idea to do with your color books. Now, this is the one I've been working in out of the Fairyland. But you've seen where I've done other ones in my art journal here. And I know I show this every time, but that's just so people can get an idea. These giraffes are color book pages or cutouts from the color book. Let's see what other one here. Let me just try to flip. I need to put tabs on it. Here's one from the fairy book. It has 3 different fairies on here that colored, cut out, and then I incorporated into my mixed media collage journal pages. Again, here's this girl. She's, let's see what else. I got a couple of steampunk ones in here. But I have another idea for y'all for the color book. There's these 2 girls. This is out of the Art Nouveau. This one is out of the Floral Fashions. And see, they're not done yet. They're not done. I've just, there's an angel. This one is out of the stained glass book. Quickly. Here's a steampunk one. Now this one's completed, so this is the one I show all the time because it's fully completed. It's getting out of hand. Now, Vicki, you didn't say it was getting out of hand when you heard that there was a zombie one. Did you? Okay, just saying. Oh, and then they're also making, and I've talked about this on the last color book show, they're making a Game of Thrones, a Harry Potter, an Outlander. I can't remember them all the different movie, TV shows. They're doing color books for all those too. Let's see what else. Yeah. There's this steampunk girl. So again, don't feel like you can't take things out of your color books and use them in other places. Don't let the color books be the boss of you. Oh, and then also, in your glue books or other kind of books, use bits of them in there too. There's this one, and then the back one here. These are from the Paula, I call it my Paula Paris book because she's the enabler. But anyway, so you can cut things out. I got a couple of the kimono girls. I just liked them, so I colored them and cut them out and put them in this book, my glue book. So there's lots of different things that you can do with them, including a new idea I'm getting ready to show you. Oh my gosh, girls. All right, so let me grab this over here. I worked diligently over the weekend. I was busy this weekend, but I did squeeze in time here and there, like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there to do, let me get my camera. level. All right, so I wanted to tell you two things on these. One, you know, I always tell you that if you want to keep the brightness and the contrast in your color book pages when you color them, to go back over the black areas with a black pencil or marker, okay, to keep that contrast really a high contrast. Well, in this case, I wanted it to be dulled down, and I'll show you why in a second. But I did this little fairy, but what I did, I used a lot of gray, okay? I used a lot of gray, and I whited down all the black outlining, and you'll see why in a second. Same thing for this one. She's all the harsh black lines have been muted with either a gray or like the green or the orange, whatever. I've muted down the dark black lines on purpose in this case because I wanted to use them on scrapbook paper. So here's a beautiful piece of scrapbook paper that was from, let me get the book here. Do I have it? Yes, this is from an old K & Company. Do I have the cover here? Let me see. Ah, here it is. This is from the old K & Company. I say old. I mean, you know, anything more than a couple of months we'd consider old. This is the Engraved Garden collection. So what I did, I colored her to specifically match this color. So I picked out the colors here. Now I gotta say, I'm gonna give credit to Vicky, because one of the girls that I did last week, the other, well, I didn't even show it. It's in my book, but I didn't get to the flip of it. You mentioned that would be so pretty framed. Now, if y'all know me, I do scrapbook, and I do 12 by 12 with, you know, a couple pictures of the grandkids or whatever, and I frame them. Well, when Vicky said you should frame that, I said, why not? Why don't I frame them just like I do my scrapbook 12 by 12? Because that's what I do. I'll get those cheap 12 by 12 frames. You can get them for $5 at Michael's, and frame some of your pretty color book. So I am going to give, oh, you like this paper, Christy? You can frame some of your pretty work. Now, what I did here is, in this case, I found the fairy I wanted to put on this page, and I colored her to coordinate with it. I inked all the edges in a brown-orange, kind of orangey brown. I inked, you know, put some there, and what I did is I cut the flower so that she will fit behind it. Okay? So there is that one. And I know it's a little flashed out, guys. Let me try to grab some of the color. Okay. So you can do this kind of thing with your beautiful scrapbook paper. So I did her. And again, I muted it down so that the black outlines were not so harsh on this particular paper. Now, if you use some of the Print Shop or the Amy Tan or some of those papers that are really bright, colorful, and crisp and contrasted, the black would be awesome with that. So you'd want to keep, you know, you'd want to keep that black contrast and really accent it. But in this case, I wanted to mute it down. So, all right, now Eileen, is Eileen here? Eileen might want to look away. There is a flamingo alert. I don't know if Eileen is here, but flamingo alert. Okay, so I loved this piece of paper. So what I did is, again, I cut this flower a little so she tucks up under there and kind of sits a little bit on that little sofa area there. So there is this one. And again, that won't matter when it's cut, when you put it in a frame, or even on another piece of cardstock, you know, to kind of, you know, put it back together, so to speak. I inked all the edges again, and again, she just kind of fits under here. And the idea, how I did it, is I found the picture, I kind of cut around her, I didn't fussy cut, I just cut around her so that I was able to color off the edge real easily by not fussy cutting. Because once you fussy cut, it's hard to get off the edges and not tear your little bits, right? So don't fussy cut it out till you finish coloring it. But I wanted to be able to place her. I wanted to be able to, find the spot I wanted her to be in. Eileen she would unfriend me, Janet. So what I did is I muted her out. So any of the harsh black lines I colored over with either a white, a gray, a blue, or whatever color I was working on, so that she blends more seamlessly into the background. But then it's something I've colored, and I put her on this pretty page. I inked all the edges. Let me kind of lift her up there. I inked all the edges and tried to kind of keep the same kind of color family tones in there. So thanks, Vicki, for the idea of using your color book pages, even though she didn't know she gave me the idea of using your color book pages on your pretty scrapbook papers. Now these particular ones in the engraved garden stack are pretty, they have a lot of, oh here I pulled some out. They have a lot of story already to them. In other words, like look at this, here's this one. See, they've got a lot going on. So some of these I pulled out to show you, like you might be able to put something here, or one of the kimono. See how I have the fan there? One of the girls in the kimono would be perfect for here. Maybe we'll do that today. Put that here. There's this one. There's just all different ones, okay? But they're very, I don't want to say busy, but that is kind of the word. They're already themed up for you, so you kind of have to make your, like the girl in the kimono, fit right there. So you've got to kind of be more selective when you use something this busy. But I pulled out some other ones that would be awesome just for a major figure. In other words, you find the paper that you love that could be just a background for whatever you want to color. All right, here's a good example. This is the romance novel Prima. This is a good example of how keeping the image with the black, and again, it's kind of flashed out, but keeping the image with a lot of outline would work well because there's a lot of contrast in here. So that would be great to use for keeping the image sharp and crisp. But there's all kinds of things, like this one kind of reminded me of a wallpaper. Now again, this isn't going to match, but I'll just kind of show you a large image on here. So like for instance, here's one. You see what I'm talking about? So if you just like just the color, your color book page, but didn't really want to insert it into another world here and just wanted a background, you see, you could do something like that. You could do something like this one over here. Let me flip this over. Or just a wallpaper, something like this. So it doesn't necessarily have to be colored to fit in a certain space like I did these two. You could just do something like this. These would be awesome in a little girl's room. But you could not only do something like this. There's all kinds of one like the one I have with the comic book one from Mara. That would be an awesome one for a boy's room. Okay, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee and Art in the Morning. I'm Dee Dee. Keep our little focus cards right here. I did do some research on the camera lighting. I posted it on Twitter. Apparently, this camera does not have a light lock, but we're gonna soldier on. Okay, so anyway, oh, and also let me say that the Baby Book Round Robin thing that's going around the world is now last person in Canada and will be coming to the States shortly. So hopefully in about 6 months, we'll get to the other 15 people in the U.S., and then it will get back to Debbie B. All right, so let me just show, I have a couple things, more things. I don't know how really new they are, but more things to show you guys with color books. Then I also, let me go ahead now. I'm not going to do I'm not going to do Inktober right now. If I do a video on it, it'll be a separate video for my Inktober, but I will show you what I've got done so far, and it's probably going to flash us out, but we'll get it. All right, so remember the first cover we did, I forgot to put the E in Inkwell. Inky Well, that's my, my handle, and I didn't even spell it right. So we did that over, and then I added some little doodads and some splats, so there's my cover page. Then for day one, did the little crab, and these are all posted on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I did make a Facebook folder for my Inktober drawings, and it's public, so even if y'all don't follow me on Facebook, I think pretty much all my art folders are public. My art, my Inktober, I have one for the Gold Rush crew. I drew all the Gold Rush crew last season. So there's a folder, and anybody don't have to subscribe or follow me to go see it. Day 2 was a starfish. Day 3 was sea turtles. And then yesterday I did some coral. So that was yesterday. And so again, I will do a day 5 sometime today and post it all around and put it in my Inktober Facebook album. But I'm not going to do that right now. I mean, I'm not going to work on the ink drawing right now, but I just wanted to show you guys. Thanks. You liking the nautical theme? Thanks, Julie. So that is as far as I got so far for the Inktober, and what it is, it's Mr. Jake Parker. Mr. Jake Parker, and anytime I do a Inktober video, I put the link for that, and he's the one that started Inktober, I think 5-6 years ago. I forget exactly how many. Okay, so I did that, and then Friday night over the weekend, Friday night, our friend Cinder Block Ben, and let me put a note to put that in. Yeah, I got a note to put that in there too in my links. We did a hangout on Google, and he was there. He did a 4-hour show. And he was just doing different things and working in his studio. So he did about 2 hours, and then he was waiting for somebody else to come in, and they didn't show up, or they had to leave or something. So I told him, well, I'll come on until your friend comes back. Well, that 2 hours later, so I spent about 2 hours with Ben. And he's awesome, guys. A young, up and coming artist, and he's in shows, and he's in the Pittsburgh area. He does amazing interviews with other local artists, and it's really awesome. So y'all go check out and follow Ben at Cinder Block Studios on YouTube. And I'll put a link in the description. So Friday night, I worked on this during his show, and she is one of the sketchy group. One of the people that posts their own photographs for you to draw from, and I've talked about that a bunch of times too. It's a group